In the Department of Environmental, Earth, and Geospatial Sciences at North Carolina Central University, we feel it's important to be able to collect data in the field, process it, analyze it, and eventually render it. The DEGS acquired a drone in the fall of 2016. In addition to a DJI Inspire, we also have a Phantom 3 Professional. It's been a learning process for everyone as we're starting to realize the applications of what can be done with this drone. Thus far with students, we've been able to collect high-quality imagery, perform some basic change detection, some classifications, and georectification and georegistration with it. We don't have anyone on staff who's a dedicated UAV expert, so it's been a piecemeal process as we learn ways to integrate this technology into our teaching and our research. We've started from scratch to see the various types of applications from this, and we're looking to reinforce some of the notions of physical geography and climatology courses to measure environmental lapse rates. This is the rate at which temperature decreases as we increase in elevation, where typically this is for your non-rising air. It's slightly different than your adiabatic lapse rates, both your wet and dry, which better describe air masses. The environmental lapse rate can be affected by a number of different variables, such as location, altitude, time of day, insolation, humidity. In our books, we learned that the environmental lapse rate is about 6.5 degrees Celsius for every kilometer, or about 3.56 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1,000 feet. I'm calculating this a little bit further. For 400 feet, which is the FAA limit for this particular project we're going to look at, this would equate to about a 1.4 degree Fahrenheit change. So in this particular project, we're going to use a drone to essentially fly up, attached to a sensor, to measure different lapse rates at different elevations. This is a fusion of engineering technology, GIS, data analysis, and drone usage to reinforce this relatively simple concept. I'm a GIS professional, so I am personally looking for applications in data collection with relation to mapping, spatial interpolation, density mapping, data quality, and the development of high-quality spatial data. When I talk about these steps, first you can see our Phantom 3 Professional drone that was acquired by the department in the fall of 2016. The next thing that we have is a temperature sensor that reads real-time temperature. You can see it running here as I've taken it outside. As the temperature is read, it's sent over Wi-Fi to Amazon Web Services where the temperature, tagged with time, is stored. If there's not an internet connection available in the field, it's stored to flash memory where the temperature combined with these time tags that I talked about before are uploaded to Amazon Web Services once a Wi-Fi connection can be made. These data can be queried, graphed, and viewed in a variety of different formats that I'll show later. We can also set the collection period for whatever we wish. For this example, we set so that data temperature is collected every 5 seconds. This sensor and web technology was developed by J-Factor Embedded, a company out of Pennsylvania. They provided me with this sensor, a username, and logon so I can dictate parameters for this particular sensor via a web interface. I'll provide their contact information at the end of this talk. Next, I connected the sensor to our drone where I ran the simple experiment. I hovered at 0 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet, and 400 feet, the FAA acceptable limit without a waiver. We flew at those elevations for 2 minutes each. You can see it flying here for an elevation of 100 feet above ground level to 200 feet above ground level at my home in Summerfield, North Carolina on December 29th, 2017 at about 11:45 a.m. I've panned the camera around so you can see the sensor hanging below as we hover at the 200-foot mark for 2 minutes. Every 5 seconds, temperature is being collected and either sent to Amazon Web Services or stored to flash, where it is instantly written to Amazon Web Services when it gets within range of Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi around my home is relatively strong, so I didn't notice if it was ever out of Wi-Fi, but when we log on, and I'll show this later, you'll see that the data is collected there instantaneously. After I landed my drone, I went to my web login through the J-Factor Embedded website and downloaded the file for that particular time period in CSV format. You can see it here. It's got a header, but it also has the date, the time, the 5-second intervals that I talked about that I had specified. It also has epoch time, which is sometimes referred to as Unix time. That's the number of seconds that have elapsed since January 1st, 1970 UTC, Coordinated Universal Time. You can also see the temperature, as well as warnings that I specified. These sensors can be placed where temperature control is monitored, such as freezers, refrigerators, and greenhouses, among other applications. If these limits are turned on, warnings can be sent to administrators. We don't have the need for that particular functionality here. Most importantly, for my mapping and data applications, you can bring these data into applications such as Excel and R. I needed to play with the data a little bit because you can see the temperature is alphanumeric. So I was able to parse off the Fahrenheit and just work with actual data that I was able to bring into R. So when I did this, I was able to bring it into R, and I wanted to look at the 128 data points that were captured during the course of the experiment. I eliminated the rows before I took off and after I had landed. And you can see what they look at like here. So this is what I'm looking at here. You can see my data points in red. And then I created a moving average command in R using the 2 points before and the 2 points after, so you can see it smoothed out a little bit. You can see that our starting temperature was at about 35.5 degrees Fahrenheit and got down to just over 32 degrees, actually 32.13, 400 feet up, resulting in a change of 3.4 degrees. This was interesting because it was about twice the lapse rates that we learn about in books. And this is even higher than your dry adiabatic lapse rate, which is about 2.2 degrees Fahrenheit for every 400 feet. This was run when the sun was out. It was run in the middle of winter. So we'll have to experiment with different times of day, different environmental conditions, to really start to begin the process of large-scale data processing and rendering. I also thought it was pretty neat because you can see the different levels of temperatures as you go up in elevation or forward in time. And then once we start to go back to the ground, because we went straight back to the ground, most pronounced is this change right here as we increase from 400 feet in elevation back to the surface. Nonetheless, this is a really simple application. We can work with students to learn the scientific method so we can explore perhaps problems with different lapse rates or different temperature ranges at different times of day for the same location. Or we can look at different lapse rates or temperature ranges at different months or different conditions with changes in elevation, geography, humidity, weather conditions, or whatever. And we can also maybe look at paths that can be flown at the same elevation to maybe explore microclimate variations. This application that we're also looking at is relatively simple using one temperature sensor, but there's a variety of different sensors that can be used and ways that GIS can be used with those. Sensors include altitude, latitude, longitude, can be collected in conjunction with another sensor such as air quality parameters such as your PM 2.5, PM 10, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, your VOCs and nitrogen dioxide. So the same paths can be flown to look at these air quality parameters throughout the day or different times of day to map air quality parameters. Also, we can look at the collection of water data and temperature with a variety of different applications. As I said before, I'm more of a GIS professional. I like to use these sensors just to collect data. So I'm admittedly not an expert in the sensors and the data collection process. I personally like to use the data to make maps and perform spatial analysis from it. J-Factor Embedded out of Pennsylvania, they can provide solutions for different types of sensors based on their need. This is their webpage right here. These are the people who provided me with the sensor, the temperature sensor, as well as a login so I can collect, download temperatures, set up different parameters for my particular sensor. Right now we're looking at options so we can collect latitude, longitude, altitude, as well as different data quality parameters that can be used for studies in environmental science as well as environmental justice that tie together the geography and the GIS that I'm interested in. This is their contact information up here. It's 610-427-2467. Their webpage is jfactorembedded.com. You can go to their webpage, and then it has contact information down at the bottom. It also has the number and a contact email. It's james.coleman@jfactorembedded.com. Now, this is just the beginning of some of the applications that can be accomplished using drones. We're just beginning as a department to explore this potential. If you have any questions about this project, questions, suggestions, which I always look forward to hearing about, and future collaborations, please direct them to me. This is my contact information. My name is Timothy Mulrooney. I'm an associate professor and graduate coordinator in the Department of Environmental, Earth, and Geospatial Sciences at North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. I look forward to hearing from you and maybe highlighting some of the future work that we'll be able to do with drones.